And now, if I can welcome Sue Davies, Chair of EFSA's Management Board, to the podium.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and Commissioner, and thank you very much for those positive comments about the role of EFSA and the quality and value of its work to the European Commission. I'm conscious that it's the end of, nearly the end of a very long day, so I'm not going to speak for very long, but I just wanted to make a few concluding remarks about what I think we've gained from the conference and what I hope you've gained as well, and what it means for the Management Board going forward in terms of the focus of our work and obviously for EFSA more widely. I hope you'll all agree that I think it's just been a really brilliant conference. I think throughout the 3 days it's just been really interesting and has really achieved the objectives in terms of bringing together such a diverse range of perspectives. I think it's rare to come to a conference where you get the sort of combination of so many technical issues, but also some of the wider aspects, the social science elements of how we actually do risk assessment. And I think it's been incredible seeing just the breadth of participation, just in terms of having people who are researchers, who are NGOs, who are risk assessors or regulators, but also people from all parts of the globe. And I think we've really learned and been able to share information, but also establish really important contacts. I think the key thing in having a conference like this is that we learn from it, both personally, obviously, I'm sure we will, but also in terms of how EFSA really learns and develops some of the key themes that have come out of the conference. From the Management Board's point of view, it's been particularly timely, obviously not accidentally, but EFSA is currently developing its 5-year strategy up to 2020, which many of you probably know about. It went out for consultation on October the 8th for 6 weeks. And that's really setting out what we see as the main opportunities and challenges for EFSA over the next 5 years, and what we think are the priorities for EFSA in the way that it works and the issues that it focuses on, to make sure that it really is delivering for consumers and really making it a contribution to improving public health. I just wanted to briefly outline 5 of the strategic objectives that are in that strategy, because I think they sort of bring together nicely some of the main themes that have come out of the conference, but also just to sort of flag them to you as well, because I think it's really important to have your contribution to the consultation and really help EFSA to develop how some of these key strands are taken forward. The first one is that we need to prioritise public engagement in the process of risk assessment. And I think that's been a theme throughout the whole conference, from the first plenary session when we had that really interesting debate about just how much we should be opening up risk assessment, when it was appropriate to engage the public and how we should engage the public, and the need to establish trust on both sides, both in terms of enabling the public to trust scientists, but also getting scientists and regulators to actually trust that the public can have a really valuable contribution as well to the process of risk assessment. As you may know, EFSA is currently developing or taking forward a project on transparency and engagement in risk assessment, which I think is a really important mechanism for taking forward a lot of this work, because it's really looking across the whole risk assessment process within EFSA's responsibility and looking at how can the public become more engaged, what's actually practical given the way that we operate, but also how can we be much more transparent about what we're doing. So there's been a lot of talk about the framing and asking the right questions, and so starting at that stage and thinking how can that be opened up and what's actually feasible, all the way through to the panel work and then engaging with a much broader range of scientists. And I think some of the breakout sessions have brought up some really interesting ideas, like the crowdsourcing, for example, which are things that need to be explored to see what's actually practical in terms of how they can be integrated more effectively. And ultimately, not undermine the quality or robustness of the science, but actually enhance it and make sure that it's as relevant as possible. The second closely linked area is widening EFSA's evidence base and maximising access to data. And again, I think that access and openness of data have been important themes throughout the conference, both in the plenary sessions, but also in some of the breakout sessions as well. And it's important to make sure that we learn from others where they have taken steps to try and open up data. But as the last panel was talking about, making sure that we've got that reproducibility, that people can access the data and they can understand much better what's actually underpinning the risk assessments that EFSA does. It's also about improving data exchange and also broadening the perspective so we make sure that we're taking even more of a multidisciplinary approach than we try to already. The third area is about building the EU scientific assessment capacity and knowledge community, and really that's what this conference has been all about, which is about bringing people together, sharing perspectives, not just the EU, but obviously much wider in terms of the international representation that's here. But recognising that we're often tackling the same issues, we're dealing with the same problems, we need the same experts in some cases, so looking at how we can share our resources, pool expertise much more effectively to get better outcomes for consumers. The fourth area is about preparing for future risk assessment challenges. And we've heard about some of the wider societal challenges. The Commissioner's just been talking about the threats of obesity. We've heard about, obviously, Expo's focus very much on food security and sustainability. As Bernard said right at the start of the conference, we have to see food safety in this much broader perspective, which will impact on consumers in many ways. But we also need to make sure that we're really anticipating risks, whether that's risk caused by climate change, for example, or whether it's risks that are emerging from technological changes, for example. And EFSA's been working, while we've been here, there's been discussions going on about nanotechnologies, so making sure that we're identifying the risks and taking steps to prevent them at the earliest stage possible. And then the final strategic objective in the strategy is about creating an environment and culture that reflects EFSA's values. And the values that we're suggesting, they're nothing kind of earth-shattering or new, but I think are absolutely fundamental still to the way that EFSA works. So that's about excellence, openness, cooperation, independence, and about innovation. So making sure that EFSA is sort of foresighted and anticipating issues before they come along. So it's absolutely crucial that EFSA is able to attract and motivate and retain the experts that it relies on, but also the staff who are obviously so fundamental to making sure that EFSA provides the quality advice that it does. So that gives you a quick overview of the 5 main strategic objectives. And as I said, I think these will be things that when the board meets in December, we'll be considering, but it's also important to have the breadth of your expertise and experience feeding into that to make sure that we really are able to address the challenges that are going to be facing EFSA in the coming years. So on that note, I just wanted to emphasise again that I really hope that we can build on the kinds of relationships that we've established, the expertise that we've picked up and the research that we've heard about, and make sure that the conference has a much longer lasting legacy. So I know Bernard's going to do a more comprehensive list of thank yous, but I just wanted to thank you all for participating, thank the people who we can't see who are obviously participating by the internet as well. Thank the speakers, who I think have been excellent throughout the conference, and obviously thank Bernard and the EFSA staff who've been working on this conference for so long to make sure that it's been such a success. So thank you very much.
Sue Davies, Chair of EFSA's Management Board.